Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the last movie in our Shameless movie week, and tonight we're looking at The Phantom of Death. Yeah, so we're looking at this tonight. Now, this film, don't know too much about the year or anything. I'm just trying to see if I can see me granddad glasses anywhere. Which I can't. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I can't read that, it's way too small. Right, this is another Italian film. I'm not going to bother looking at the year then. I can't be bothered. And but it stars the wonderful Michael York and the horror legend that is Donald Pleasance. Now this film it's another sort of little mixed bag of stories, a bit like the last one that we saw. It kind of sort of plays out again a little bit like a sort of giallo-y sort of film, but it's not. This film is Donald Pleasance plays like a detective. Michael York is like a young sort of pianist magician, and he's sort of like quite famous. A lot of people like him and stuff like that, and all these sort of murders are going around and happening in between, sort of like Michael York doing his piano thing and his sort of like relationship with his girlfriend and all this sort of thing. And these murders happening, they're quite brutal. The first murder happens not long into the film, and there's like this sort of like you getting these flashes to this sort of like this kendo class where they're sort of like playing with these sort of swords, but then our killer actually got a real sword, and he's off out doing the killing on our women again, as always. And there's a couple of brutal kills at the beginning. Now this film is directed by Ruggiero Ruggiero Deodatus, and I believe he's the director of Cannibal Holocaust. Now I found my glasses, I can have a look at the year. 1986. 1986. Yeah, and there's a couple of sort of brutal deaths, and our Donald Pleasance is off investigating who's done this sort of thing, and he plays his normal sort of, he plays Donald Pleasance pretty much, and he's not getting very far with his deaths, and the story sort of unfolds around these sort of murders, and then around Michael York's character, he seems to have got this sort of disease, and he's sort of aging, like really quick, but he's like looks like an old, like in about halfway through the film, he looks like an old man, but he's still 30, and he's sort of like, and he's got this sort of disease that seems to be haunting him, and Donald Pleasance is still on the hunt for our sort of killer, and that is it. That is pretty much the film. We've got Michael York, who's a pianist. He's got a beautiful wife and other girls, women that like him, and all this sort of thing. And he's got this disease that's aging him, and nobody really knows about it. He hasn't told anybody. And then we've got a killer out there killing off some of the women that have been in touch with Michael York and things like this. And we've got Donald Pleasance, who's the detective, investigating, trying to find the killer. And that is it. That's the story. Easiest little plot line ever. And the story sort of unfolds quite predictably throughout. And then you can see who the killer is coming. You know what I mean? You think, and halfway through the film, you find out who the killer is anyway, because it's sort of like obvious. And so then they stop trying to hide who the killer is, and then it's becoming a sort of cat and mouse game between the killer and Donald Pleasance. He's leading him astray by making his phone calls, and then making threats for Donald Pleasant's daughter and all this, who he's trying to protect, and the sort of it sort of unfolds, and then the sort of a climatic ending again is very very predictable, but it doesn't take too much away from the film. It's a bit of a rubbish synopsis, really, but I can't really give you any better because that is pretty much the film in a nutshell. A killer going around killing his women off, who Michael York knows he's a pianist and he's got this disease and aging, and Donald Pleasance is investigating it. That is it. And it unfolds, and like I said, there is a few gory deaths in it. I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. I thought it was really good, quite a cool film. I enjoyed it a lot more than our last outing, A Formula for a Murder. I enjoyed it a lot more than that. It's still not up there with the great sort of horror sort of films. It's still got it lacks something. Although, according to the sticker, it's finally the uncut version. Only a couple of deaths are sort of like worthy of that. But it's got something about it, the sort of stalking by our killer and the sort of cat and mouse game that he plays with Donald Pleasance I liked. It reminded me a lot of like the New York Ripper in that sort of film. Nowhere near as brutal or as good as the New York Ripper, but it is a really quite enjoyable little film. The pluses of the film, the acting is on stellar. Michael York is fantastic. I do like Michael York, but it's really bizarre to see him in this sort of film being a sort of legendary sort of Shakespearean actor. And he's more well known with big sort of British movies. It's quite weird to see him in this. But he was fantastic. He played a really good role, especially as the aging old when he was aged. He looked amazing. The effects were really cool in this as well. The deaths were pretty cool, and the aging effects from Michael York was really cool. Donald Pleasance plays Donald Pleasance, so he was excellent. So the acting was pretty stellar. It looks really nice. It looks really stunning. Again, it's only on DVD. I think you can still get this. I think you'd probably have to try and order it online. I don't think it's expensive. It's about £6 or £7 if you're interested in it. So it is still you can still pick this up. Nothing special about it. Reversible cover with its Italian title. Special features is you just got a trailer of other sort of Shameless releases. But I enjoyed it. Great film, 8 out of 10. I'm going to score it an 8 out of 10, which is quite high, and it's solely because of the performances of Michael York and Donald Pleasance. They brought something really cool to the film. I mean, Donald Pleasance, whatever he's in, is really cool. But to see an established actor like Michael York venturing in down the sort of Italian horror films, I think, wow, well done, mate. Hats off to you, well done. To do something like that, I think that's really cool. So that's the reason why I'm giving it quite a high mark. Otherwise, it probably would have been a 7 or something like that. But because of our two main guys in there, it earns that extra point. Phantom of Death, 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you think of it. Yeah, it's not the greatest movie. These sort of movies aren't. But to tell the truth, I loved that one. That was really cool, the one I reviewed earlier in the week. But these are probably that's probably why they've never been re-followed up, and got another release onto Blu-ray or anything like that, because they're very sort of the lower end of the Italian horror films, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the way it is. Now, this sort of Italian films is probably it's up there, one of my favourite sort of horror genres. When they do it right, they do it right, But when they do it wrong, it's a calamity. And very very occasionally, you'll get one stuck in the middle. And this is one that's stuck in the middle, and I really quite enjoyed it. I think it is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. A lot of people think, oh, There's nothing in it, Joff. It's boring or whatever. But I got something out of it. It did have some remnants of New York Ripper to me, without the violence, without the great kills, but it had that sort of investigation with the police sort of thing that that film has got. And it had a really twisty sort of story in a sense around Michael York's character, which is really, really cool as well. Brought something new to the table. And that's why I love Italian horror, because it always does that. It brings something new to the table. It dares to be different. It dares to try and bring something new. Even your giallos, although they're quite samey with the killer looking the same, they all got a real different sort of twist, and they all try to bring something different to that table. They're not just trying to play out the same film over and over and over, like our American sort of slashers that are the same film over and over and over. These Italian films always give you that little something different, be it a character that's got like a deformity or disabled or wherever it is. Um, it always adds a little something to um, to the film, like Burial Ground. That boy, Michael, you know what I mean? It just always tries to add something a little bit out there, and it gives the film an extra little boost. Anyway, guys, I hope you quite liked the Shameless week. They are going to be a mixed bag, these DVDs. Obviously, I do have some of the other films, you know, the Blu-rays, and I was going to do one of the cannibal films this week. I was going to do The Mountain of the Cannibal God, but I thought, no, I'm going to get through a couple of these sort of slasher giallo-y films and give these a good look, and I did. And it's been fun. Been fun. Definitely the best one of the three is definitely My Dear Killer, and then Phantom of the Death, and then obviously a little bit disappointed by Formula for a Murder, which, like I said, played out a little bit like a TV movie. But it's been fun, and I will be doing another Shameless week a little bit further down the line. Probably when I've collected some more, I'll go into a few different ones that I've not looked at before. If you have enjoyed those, there is some other Shameless reviews, I think, on my channel. I have done the New York Ripper, and I've not long done the Cemetery Man on my channel. So why don't you go back and have a look at him? And if you don't want to do that, go back and check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzawell, I Am Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrews, Haunted House. Now, that's a great channel. Until next time, look after yourselves. Look after one another. Oh, and a massive shout out to my lad. And I really hope I see you all soon.